Okay, June 13th. The world really watched as things between Israel and Iran escalated fast into this really dramatic, very open confrontation. It felt like a day that kind of rewrote the playbook, didn't it? For this conflict that's often been, more in the shadows.
Definitely.
There is just so much noise out there right now.
Yeah.
So our mission with this deep dive is to cut right through that for you. We want to deliver the key insights, the facts, and really the context you need to make sense of what just happened and what it means.
That's exactly right. This deep dive, it's designed to break down those events of the 13th, look at what sparked it immediately, but also explore the deeper history there.
Right.
We'll unpack why it matters, not just for the region, but globally, and look ahead a bit based on the stack of different sources we've gone through. It's complicated stuff.
For sure.
Our goal is to make it clearer for you, the listener.
Okay, so to really get a handle on this, let's start right there. What exactly kicked off this huge escalation on June 13th?
It started with Israel's move, Operation Rising Lion, and it was quite something. Over 100 coordinated strikes across Iran, all within just a few hours.
100, wow.
Yeah, and the targets weren't random. We're talking suspected nuclear research spots, several IRGC military compounds, even homes of top Iranian commanders and nuclear scientists, reportedly.
So these weren't just warning shots?
No, not at all. These weren't symbolic attacks. Iranian media themselves confirmed, significant damage, high-profile casualties, too. The message was pretty unmistakable.
And Iran didn't wait long to hit back. Their response felt almost immediate.
Absolutely. Very swift. They launched what they called Operation True Promise III. Basically a barrage of missiles, suicide drones, aimed directly at Israeli cities, military sites.
But Israel has defenses, right?
Hey,
Iron Dome, David Sling.
They do, and they're sophisticated. They intercepted most of them, the vast majority. But crucially, not all. A few missiles did get through. Reports mention strikes in Tel Aviv neighborhoods, caused power outages, injuries, widespread panic, really.
So what stands out here?
Well, beyond the actual impacts, it's the directness. This was one of the most direct military clashes between them in decades. It signals maybe a new phase, less predictable perhaps, both sides pushing boundaries.
That shift is, significant. But the question nagging me is, why now? We've seen these tensions simmer for years, this shadow war, as you called it. What pushed it out into the open like this?
You're right to ask that. It's the key question. The tension itself, it's nothing new, of course. Israel has long accused Iran of secretly pursuing nuclear weapons.
Right, under the guise of civilian energy.
Exactly. Iran denies it, insists it's peaceful. But you have satellite images, uranium enrichment levels, inspections. They've raised serious international concerns for a long time.
And that's played out covertly for years.
Precisely. The shadow war, Israel hitting weapons shipments in Syria, Iran funding groups like Hezbollah, cyber attacks going both ways, disabling infrastructure, military networks. It's been constant.
But this time was different.
This time.
Yeah.
It wasn't in the shadows. It went public, loud, direct.
So what were the triggers? Analysts must be pointing to something specific.
They are. Two main things seem to have converged. First, internal political pressure on both sides, actually.
Right.
In Israel, you've had major protests over those judicial reforms, huge divisions. In Iran, they're dealing with, soaring inflation, continued women-led protests, the bite of international sanctions, real domestic strain.
And the second trigger?
That's the shifting regional picture. The Abraham Accords changing dynamics, Saudi-Iranian talks, however tentative, Syria even rejoining the Arab League. The whole Middle East map is kind of in flux.
So both trying to assert themselves amidst the change?
That's one interpretation, yes. Trying to establish dominance, maybe redraw their own red lines while the regional balance is unsettled. What's fascinating, really, is how these internal pressures and the regional shifts might have combined, creating this, maybe a pressure cooker moment where the old rules of the shadow war just didn't hold anymore.
That makes a lot of sense, putting it together like that. Okay, let's dive into the attacks themselves then. What more can you tell us from the sources about the specifics?
Sure. So looking at open source intelligence, eyewitness reports, Israel's airstrikes seem to have hit key facilities near Natanz, Esfahan, outside Tehran. These are all, central to Iran's nuclear program infrastructure.
Main casualties?
Well, there are unofficial reports, but they're circulating widely, claiming at least 3 senior IRGC scientists were killed in those specific strikes.
And Iran's retaliation, what were the specifics there?
The Revolutionary Guard launched waves of attacks, missiles, drones, but also cyber attacks, that's important too, specific impacts mentioned. One drone reportedly hit the Ramat David Air Base up in northern Israel.
Okay.
Another apparently struck a fuel depot near Haifa's port, set it ablaze, briefly at least, and maybe overlooked but significant, digital systems at Tel Aviv's airport were knocked offline for several hours. That delayed flights, emergency operations, shows it's not just about physical strikes.
That multi-domain aspect is quite chilling, isn't it? The scale. It's a stark reminder of the capabilities on both sides. So turning outwards now, what did this mean for the rest of the world, the global reaction?
Yeah, the global ripple effect was pretty immediate and nervous. The UN Security Council scrambled for an emergency midnight session.
Right.
You had the major powers, the US, Russia, China, European nations, all putting out these urgent calls. Basically, both sides need to stand down now.
Any specific statement?
The U.S. president called it, and I'm quoting here, a dangerous spiral that could pull the entire region into chaos. Pretty strong words.
And economically?
Felt instantly. Crude oil prices jumped, over $85 a barrel, all fueled by fears of disruption to those vital Gulf shipping routes.
Makes sense.
Plus, international airlines started rerouting flights almost immediately, avoiding Iranian-Israeli airspace. And then there's the information space. Just chaotic. Social media exploding with claims, disinformation, news outlets working overtime trying to verify everything.
It sounds like a whirlwind. So given all that, what's the general feeling among experts, the consensus view? Are we looking at the start of a full-scale war here?
The consensus broadly seems to be not full-scale war yet.
Yeah.
But, and this is a big but, it's dangerously close. Very precarious.
How so?
Well, insights from former intelligence folks suggest both sides are, in effect, testing each other's red lines, sending messages about what they can do, their resolve.
But the risk?
The real risk now, everyone agrees, is miscalculation. It's huge. Think about it. One missile goes slightly off course, one radar blip is misinterpreted, one cyber attack hits the wrong target, maybe critical civilian infrastructure.
And it spirals.
Exactly. Could spiral into a regional catastrophe before anyone can really put the brakes on. And neighboring countries, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, they're already on edge, high alert.
And Hezbollah.
There's serious talk, yeah. If Hezbollah gets drawn in, that changes the game completely. Could pull in the U.S., NATO assets, you know? It escalates fast. It really makes you wonder if our usual ways of de-escalating can even keep up with how fast things move now, especially with cyber involved.
That is. Yeah, that's a sobering thought.
Yeah.
So where do things stand right now? What's the immediate outlook?
Well, at this exact moment, the direct strikes seem to have paused, but intelligence suggests mobilization is still happening on both sides. It's like a quiet, tense readiness.
Any diplomacy?
There are reports of back channels. Maybe through Qatar, Switzerland, those are apparently open. But, you know, trust. It's practically non-existent, extremely low.
And public statements.
Both sides have made new vows publicly. Iran swearing revenge if more scientists are targeted. Israel saying it will respond with, quote, unmatched force if its civilians are hit again.
So the rhetoric is still high.
Very high. And behind the scenes, that cyber warfare dimension, it's reportedly ramping up big time, playing out silently on digital battlegrounds, away from the headlines mostly.
This really drives home how this isn't just about two nations, is it? It's such a clear, if unsettling, example of how interconnected everything is, how a flashpoint over there can send ripples everywhere, energy, travel, security. Our goal here is always to help you, the listener, cut through that complexity and see the underlying forces at play.
Absolutely. And this situation underlines that perfectly. The implications are just enormous for regional stability, obviously, but also global shipping safety, that whole delicate structure of alliances. It could pull so many others into a crisis. It really is a time to stay informed, but also, critically, to be skeptical of the rumors and the flood of disinformation that always follows events like these.
So thinking about that risk of miscalculation and this escalating, often unseen cyber conflict, here's something to ponder. How might the next critical phase of this conflict play out, maybe beyond the traditional military strikes we've just seen? And what could that silent digital escalation truly mean for global stability? Something to keep in mind as we all watch these complex developments unfold.